Hi to all you lovely people out there. So just a couple of things before we start. So if you could have your long edge of your mat facing towards your video, so that you can have this set up the same as me. So I'll be mirror imaging you in the whole of the video. So that long edge of the mat in line with your camera rather than it being at the front of the mat. And then when you've done that, just bring yourself to a seated position. Make sure you have some water, maybe your blocks and straps or books or belts or ties, whatever you may be using to help you with any alignment. So bringing the hands onto the knees, take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, then bring them back down towards the hips, take a close of the eyes and take a scan of that body from the top of the head all the way down to the fingertips, down to the toe tips, and have a check-in with how your body feels. As you're moving from that head through the shoulders, just noticing any tight spots, any injuries, anything you're looking after. Noticing through the joints of the elbows and the wrists, they might feel a little bit tight, they may feel a little bit sore. Checking in around that pelvis area, quite often we hold a lot of stress around that area. And then in down through the knees and the ankles. Quite a lot of people suffer with knee issues, so checking in there. And then checking the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, those extremities of the fingers and the toes. Just having that full body scan, witnessing how you feel as you've arrived on the mat for this next 45 to 55 minutes of practice. When you've taken that mental scan of the body, start to bring the focus to the breath. Just noticing how your breath enters and exits the body. With the eyes closed, it allows you to focus a little bit more inwardly, a little more internally. Finding that wisdom of how you should be using your body through the practice. Being aware of everything that's happening both inside and outside the body. Now if those breaths are staying quite high up in the chest, maybe try to breathe a little more into the rib cage. If you're already breathing quite low into those rib cages, maybe send the breath a little more into the belly. And try and use the nose throughout the whole of the practice for the breath, rather than the mouth. But obviously if you're holding any colds or allergies, then feel free to use that mouth. Take a nice long deep breath in. Long sigh out through the nose again. Trying to make that slight audible sound in the back of the throat. Maybe that slight sound of an ocean or Darth Vader kind of sound. The lips are pursed and those eyes gently soft. Then opening the eyes, bring those hands up towards above the head, bring the palms together at the top. Take an interlace of the fingers, turn the palms up, and then allow that body to fold over towards your left side. Remember, I'm mirror imaging you here. Try and encourage the shoulders down, but the arms to lengthen. Come back to the center and then take those hands over towards that right side. Again, relax the shoulders, lengthen the arms, keep those sit bones both grounded on the mat. Bring those hands back to center. And then bringing your right hand to your left knee, your left hand behind, and just take a rotation through that spine. Then bring those hands again back up towards the center. Palms come back together. This time bring your left hand to the right knee and rotate around to that right side. Bring those hands back up to the center. Palms come together. Interlace the fingers. Bring the arms forward. Push the chest back so the centre of the back starts to arch. Try and tuck those bellies back as well. And try and relax the shoulders down away from the ears, but straighten through the arms. Then bring that chest back up straight. Bring the hands behind the body, interlace the fingers at the bum. Push the hands down towards the floor, open through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Take a gaze up towards the ceiling, stretch through the back of that neck. And then release the grip of the hands, bring the hands behind the back of the head. Hold them just near the base of the skull. Bring the elbows in and then let that chin tuck into the chest, stretching through the back of that neck. Then lifting that head back up, bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Breathe in, lift the hands up to the ceiling. Breathe out, release them back down to the floor. Breathe in, bring the hands up towards the ceiling. This time breathe out and rotate to your left. Breathe in, bring the hands back up to the centre. Breathe out and rotate to your right. Breathe in, bring the hands back up to the centre. Breathe out, interlace the fingers and push the centre of the spine back. Breathe in and lift up through the chest. Breathe out, release the hands down behind the back, interlace the fingers, lift the chest. Breathe out, release the hands, bring them behind the back of the neck. And then let the head drop into the centre and traction that neck. Bring it back into the centre space. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. Then coming onto the knees, facing me and that long edge of the mat. Bringing the knees just a hip width apart. Then take out your left foot out to the side and pushing into the outside of that left foot, try and have the toes of the left foot in line with that right knee. Bring your left hand down that left leg, reach your right hand up and over and start to laterally flex over to that left side. So we're stretching that right side of the waist. Maybe gaze up towards that hand of the right and try and bend as much as you can into that left waist, stretching down that right side. Taking it into gate pose. The more you push into the outside of that left foot, the more you activate those adductors on the inside of that thigh. Then bring those bodies back up to centre and then bringing your right hand down to the floor, reach across with the left hand towards the right side of the room. So now we're stretching the opposite side. Those hips are stacking over that right knee. We're reaching over with that left hand. One more breath here. Still pushing into the outside of that left foot. Then bring those shoulders back up over those hips. Bringing your left knee back in. Bringing your right leg out to the side, toes in line with the knee, pushing into the outside of that right foot. Your right hand comes down that right leg. Your left hand lifts and we reach over towards that right side, stretching through that left side of the body, pushing into the outside of that right foot. Maybe gazing up to that left hand, contracting through that right side of the waist, lengthening through the left side. Relax that left shoulder down towards that left hip. One more breath here. And then bringing your left hand down to the floor, reach up and over with your right hand, sending it towards that left side of the room. Stretching down that right side of the body, contracting through the left. Hips are stacking over that left knee. Reaching nice and long with that right hand so you can feel that stretch through those intercostal muscles in those ribs. One more breath here. Then bringing those shoulders back up and over those hips. Bring that knee back in to join the left. And And then placing the hands behind the back. So the fingertips are touching, you stay facing forward, tops of the feet are flat. Push the hips forward, lift the chest, lift the gaze, squeeze the shoulder blades together, try and draw the elbows towards one another. Pushing the hips forward, maybe gazing up to the ceiling or just in front of you if that feels more comfortable for the neck. One more breath here. Then lifting back up through those shoulders. Then tuck under the toes so the heels are a slightly different height, so they're not as low as they were with the feet flat. Push the hips forward again, lift the chest. So choice to stay here or releasing your left hand down to your left heel. If you've managed to grab that left heel, raise that right hand up to the ceiling. And then maybe send that right hand back a little bit, lifting more through the chest, still pushing those hips forward. One more breath here. Still staying in that back bend without the hand dropped if you wish. Then bring that right hand back to the hip, lift up, straighten through the back, shoulders back over those hips. Take a breath in. Your next breath out, push those hips forward again. Choice to either stay here in this back bend, or this time sending your right hand back towards the right heel. Raising the left hand up to the ceiling. Then sending that left hand back and the gaze back if that feels comfortable for the neck. Breathing nice and deeply into the belly as much as you can. Taking one more breath here. Then bring that left hand back to the hip. And bring that right hand back. And bring those shoulders back over those knees. Untuck those toes again, still facing forward to that long edge. Bring the hands down to the floor, bring the chest over those thighs, bring the top of the head onto the mat, bring the hands behind and take a hold of the heels. Then start to lift those hips just to stretch that lower back in a counter pose from the direction it's just been in those back bends. You don't have to lift those hips high. If those hips only come to here, that's absolutely fine. But coming onto the top of the head, but try not to put too much pressure in that neck. One more breath here. And then releasing those heels back, sit bones back down towards the heels. Bring the hands in front of you, come onto the toes. Keep a bend in those knees, keep the heels together, feet together, lift up through that chest. When you've found a balance, bring the hands onto those thighs and lift that chest a little higher. Then bring the hands to the chest in the centre, palms together, and hold it here for a couple of breaths, pushing the heels forward, coming right up onto those toe tips, finding that balancing point. One more breath in this position. Then release the hands down, release the heels down and slowly curl up through that spine. One vertebra at a time, keeping the arms heavy, the head hanging until that spine starts to straighten. Then straighten through the legs, stack the shoulders over the hips, roll the shoulders back and down. And just have a moment here in standing pose, in Tadasana, mountain pose. Turning the palms forward, closing the eyes, just finding a couple of moments in stillness, noticing whether that body's rocking forwards or backwards or side to side. If closing the eyes doesn't feel comfortable, maybe open the eyes slightly with a soft gaze down towards the floor. Just holding here for another couple of breaths. One more breath. Then open those eyes. So I've found a block just to put in front of me. If you wish to help yourself to a book or a block if you already have one, and just place that in the centre of the mat. We're going to widen the feet as wide as you can take them, with the toes in front of the heels. We're pushing the tailbones down towards the floor and we're drawing the bellies back. Place the hands on top of the hips. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears on your in-breath and then back towards the hips on the out-breath. Take another long breath in, elongate that spine. As you breathe out, start to fold over those hips to a half fold. Your next breath in, elongate the spine again. And your breath out allows that body to fold over those legs, just letting that head dangle, taking any traction out of, taking traction through that neck, pushing into the outsides of the feet, getting a hamstring stretch down the back of those legs. If those legs feel a little tight, maybe micro-bend those knees slightly to take the pressure out of the hamstrings. And just holding it here in a forward fold for a couple of breaths. Wide leg forward fold. Push into the outsides of the feet, push into the big toes as well. Full grounding through those feet. Your next breath in, come up to a half lift. Take a breath out here. Your next breath in, come up, bring those shoulders over those hips and roll the shoulders back. So turning your left toes out towards the sides and bending into that left knee. Bring the arms out to shoulder height. Taking warrior two on this left side. Push into the outside of that right foot and the whole of that left foot. Tuck those tailbones down, draw the bellies back. Relax through the shoulders, lengthen through the arms. Turn the palms up, let the shoulders relax. Then turn the palms back, leave the shoulders where they are. All the time encouraging that left knee out to the side and sinking low into those hips. Then on your next breath out, windmill the hands down to either side of that left foot. Lift that left leg up towards the ceiling. Take a bend into that left knee. Turn the hip out to the side, pushing the left foot towards the right side of the mat. Shoulders stay neutral. Then realign the hips, bring the left foot down to meet the right and take a paddle through the feet. We're going to take an option of Vinyasa. Option one we're staying with. Come forward to a plank. Release by dropping the knees, turn the creases of the elbows forward, bring those elbows to graze the ribs. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, lift up the chest. Release the chest back down, tuck under the toes, bring those chest back towards those thighs. Push into the hands and feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Taking that gaze back towards the toes, the knees or the hips to get a stretch through the back of the neck. Your next breath in, we raise up with that left leg. We bring the knee towards the chest and then we step that left foot through. Drop down the back heel, windmill that right arm up and over. Find warrior two back to this left side. Sink into the hips, push into the feet, gaze towards those fingertips on that left hand. One more breath here. Then straightening up through that left leg, turn the left toes back to that long edge of the mat, bring the hands to the hips, take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Another breath in, elongates that spine. Breath out, we come to a half fold. Another breath in at half fold. And your breath out, we fold over those legs and just allow that head to hang in traction. Remember, soften the knees if you need to. The hands are staying on the hips for this one. One more breath here. Your next breath in, bring yourself up to a half lift. Take a breath out. Your next breath in, raise that chest, lift those shoulders over the hips. This time turning your right toes out to that short edge of the mat. Find warrior two to the right. Sink into that right knee. Push into the outside of that left foot. Turning that right knee out a little so we can see the big toe on that right foot. The body should be in line through the centre, so from the nose down to the pubic bone should be in between those feet. The gaze is towards those right fingertips, and we maybe sink a little lower into that right knee. One more breath. Then windmill the hands down to either side of that right foot. Step that right foot back and up towards the ceiling. Bend the knee, turn the hip. Keep those shoulders aligned. And then bring that foot back down to meet the left. Take a paddle through those feet. Gaze back towards the toes, the knees or the hips. Then taking option 2, Vinyasa, come forward to plank on the inhale. If you wish to drop the knees or come down with straight bodies. Release to the floor when you get there, untuck the toes, push into the hands and lift up the chest. Then release that chest back down, tuck under those toes, bring those chest back towards those thighs, push into those hands and feet, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. And again, gaze back towards those feet, knees or hips, squeezing the heels or paddling. Your next breath in, we raise up with that right leg. We bend the knee, we stack the hips, then bring that right knee into the chest and then that right foot in between those hands. Drop down the heel of the back foot, windmill the left arm up and over to find your warrior 2 again on that right side. Sink low in the hips, push strong into the feet. Tuck the bums under, draw the bellies back. Try and encourage the hips forward, the shoulders back. One more breath here. Then find yourself back into that wide leg forward fold, bringing the hands back onto the hips. Breathe in, roll the shoulders up towards the ears. Breathe out, send them back towards the hips. Breathe in, lengthen the spine. Breathe out. Fold over those legs. Another breath in, lengthens the spine at half left. Breath out, we fold over those legs and just let that head hang. Push into the outsides of the back foot. Make sure the toes are in front of the heels of the feet. And we're either straightening the legs, engaging through those thighs to lift those kneecaps, or we're taking a micro bend in those knees if hamstrings are still feeling a little tight. Your next breath in, come up to a half lift. Take a breath out here in half. Your next breath in, raise those shoulders back over those hips and roll the shoulders back. We're going to turn again the toes of that left foot back to warrior 2 just for a breath. Reach forward and back with the hands. Then finding high lunge. So we're bringing your right arm down and around to meet the left, coming onto the toes of the back foot, raising the hands up towards the ceiling in high lunge position. So your left knee's bent, your right leg straight. We're pushing that back heel as far as we can towards that back side of the mat. We're trying to squeeze the ribs back, tuck the tailbone down. Raise the arms as high as you can, but soften the shoulders. Maybe raise that gaze up towards those hands. Taking one more breath here in this position. Then bring those hands down to either side of that left foot. Lift that left leg back up towards the ceiling. Bend that knee, stack that hip, turn the hips out to the side. Then realign those hips and bring that left foot down to meet the right. So taking a paddle of the feet here. Then I'm going to take option 3, Vinyasa. If you want to come with me, or stick with option 1 or 2. Come forward to plank on your inhale, either dropping the knees or releasing all the way to the floor, straight bodies, or if you're with me, coming to a hover. Roll over the toes, lift up the chest, squeeze the shoulders back. Your next breath out, rolling back over those toes, lifting those hips, squeezing the heels back into our downward facing dog. Your next breath in, we raise up with that left leg. We bend the knee, we stack the hips, turning the hips out to the side. Then realign the hips, bring that knee to the chest. And then step that left foot through. Drop that back heel. Windmill the right arm up and over. First to find your warrior two for a couple of breaths. Bums under, bellies back. Stacking that torso in the middle of the feet. And then turning those left toes back to the front long edge of the mat. Bring the hands to the hips. Roll the shoulders. Your next breath in, elongate the spine. Your breath out comes to a half fold. This time placing the hands on whatever you can reach, whether you've placed a block or a book in the centre. So we're keeping the hands nice and grounded in the middle. A nice long spine. Lifting the tailbones, pushing into the outsides of the feet. So we're either having slight bend in the knees or fully straightening those legs, connecting those quads. Just gazing forward, relaxing the shoulders back, creating a little space through those collarbones. Just holding it here in half fold, supported by the hands. One more breath here. Then bring those hands back to the hips. Keep that centre nice and strong to hold that pose in half fold. Your next breath in, lift those shoulders back over the hips and roll the shoulders back. So turning this time your right toes out, find warrior two first. Bending into that right knee. Arms are in line with the shoulders and we're feeling that nice strong connection into the floor. And we're bending into that right knee as much as we can to stack it over the heel of that right foot. Find high lunge, scooping that left arm down and around, coming onto the toes of that left foot, finding our high lunge position. Sink into the hips, straighten that back left leg. Relax the shoulders, lengthen the arms, maybe raise that gaze up towards those hands. Taking one more breath here in this position. And then releasing the hands down to either side of that right foot. Lifting that right leg up towards the ceiling, bending the knees, stacking the hip, turning the hips to the left. Then realign the hips, bringing that foot down towards the floor. And then take a vinyasa of your choice. I'm going back to option one, coming forward to plank. Stick with whatever option you wish to do, dropping the knees, bringing the elbows in to graze the ribs, untuck the toes, push into the hands, lift the chest. Release those chests back down, tuck under the toes, bring the chest back towards the thighs. Pushing into those hands and feet, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. So choice to paddle or come to stillness in your down dog. Your next breath in, we raise up that right leg. We stack the hip and turn the hips. Then realign the hips, bring that knee to the chest and step that foot through. Drop down with the back heel, windmill the left arm up and over to find your warrior two position for a couple of breaths. Nice strong warriors. Nice grounding into the floor, but lifting up through the waist, up to that crown of the head. And then turn the toes of that right foot back to that long edge of the mat. Roll the shoulders back. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine. Breathe out, come to a half lift. And then maybe find those hands again on top of that block. So we're trying to get a nice straight back. We're trying to straighten those legs as much as we can. We're squeezing the shoulders back, lengthening through that crown to keep that head lifted, keep that tailbone lifted. So that good hamstring stretch down the back of both legs. And we may feel a little tightness through the outside of the shins on both legs as we're pushing those feet nice and strong into that mat. One more breath here. Then keeping that core center strong, bring the hands back to the hips in that half fold. Then your next breath in, raise those shoulders back over the hips. Then turning your left toes back towards that short edge of the mat, finding our warrior two position here. Reach forward with your left hand, back with your right hand. Push strong into the feet and squeeze those bellies back. Keep breathing in and out through the nose if you can. Taking nice long deep breaths in and long deep breaths out. So this time we're going to bring that left forearm onto the top of the left thigh. Reach up and over with that right hand towards the left side of the room. The left palm faces up, the right palm faces down. We sink those hips lower to try and stack that left knee over that left ankle. We push into the outside of that right foot. Strong grounding through that back. Bums tucked under, bellies drawn back. Those hips on that right side are turning towards me and that left bum cheek is tucking under. One more breath here in this position. Then release both hands down to the floor. Come onto the toes of the back foot, lifting that left leg up towards the ceiling, bend the knee, stack the hips, keep the shoulders neutral, realign the hips, bring that left foot down to meet the right, and take a vinyasa of your choice. Mine's option 2, coming forward to plank. Releasing down to the floor with straight bodies, or drop the knees if you wish and tuck the toes, lift up the chest. Release back down, tuck under the toes, chest back to the thighs. Pushing into those hands and feet as you lift up those hips and squeeze those heels back. Nod and shake of the head, roll of the shoulders, paddle through the feet, moving the hips in one direction and then to the other. And then bring those heels to stillness. Your next breath in raises up that left leg. Bring that knee to the chest and step that foot through. Drop that back heel down. Windmill the right arm up and over to find your warrior two again to that left side. Nice strong core centers. So really feel like you're drawing those ribs and hips towards each other. You're turning that left knee out towards the back edge of the mat. One more breath. Then bring those toes of those left foot back in front. So both toes are in front of the heels. Roll the shoulders, hands on the hips. Take a breath in. Take a breath out and come to a half fold. Again, place the hands either on a block or if you've got that availability to bring the hands to the floor, whatever works for you. So keeping your right hand in the center, bring your left hand onto your shoulder, turn your shoulders to the left, then raise that left hand up to the ceiling to get that rotation through the waist. Again, soften those knees if you need to, or activate the legs by squeezing those quads to lift those kneecaps. Try and keep both hips in line, so keep it even on both sides, pushing into both outside edges of the feet. Then bringing that left hand down towards the block, place the left hand where the right hand is, bring the right hand onto the shoulder, turn the shoulders first, then raise that right hand up towards the ceiling, opening the chest towards that right side of the room. That left arm is an anchor to help the twist. Then release that hand back down, allow the body to fold over those legs for a breath. Bring the hands back to the hips. Your next breath in brings you all the way back up, shoulders over the hips, roll the shoulders back. This time turn your right toes out to that short edge and bend back into that knee, find warrior two for a couple of breaths. Tuck those bums under, draw those bellies back, nice and spacious between those ears and the shoulders. Arms in line, try and keep both in line with each other. So this time bring your right forearm onto the top of the right thigh. Bring your left hand this time all the way over, maybe gaze up towards that left hand. Sink a little deeper into those hips so that right knee stacks over the ankle of that right foot. And open the chest towards the front of the room, trying to draw that left hip back, tuck those right bum cheeks under, and feel that spaciousness through that chest. Feel the grounding in both feet. The length through that right side of the waist. But try not to lean out too much onto that right elbow. One more breath here. Then bring both hands down to either side of that right foot. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Lift that right leg up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees, stack the hip. Realign the hips. Bring that foot back down to meet the left. Choice of vinyasa for you. I'm going with option 3. Coming forward to plank on your inhale. Releasing to a hover or all the way to the floor or drop the knees. Roll over the toes, lift up the chest. If you're with me, thighs away. Next breath out, we make our way back to down dog, lifting the hips or take those chests back to thighs. Finding your way back to down dog. Finding a little restorativeness through this pose here. Squeezing those heels back. Your next breath in, raise that right leg. Then bring that knee to the chest and step that foot through. Drop down that back heel. Your left arm windmills up and over. Use the obliques of the side of the waist to find yourself back in that warrior 2 position. So this part of the body really helps when you go through that windmilling stage. Hold it here, sink into the hips. Then straightening up through that right leg, turn the toes back towards that long edge of the mat. Always have a wiggle with your leggings. Bring the hands to the hips, roll the shoulders back. Breathe in, elongate the spine. Breathe out, fold over those legs to a half fold. Again, bring those hands down to wherever they wish to be, either a block or the floor. This time, bringing your left hand into the center, your right hand onto the shoulder. Turn the shoulders, then raise up with that hand of that right side. That left hand's the grounder and the anchor to twist. Remember, soften the knees if you need to. Stack the blocks up if you need to. The more books will bring that floor a little closer. Then releasing that right hand back down, place it where the left hand is. Bring the left hand onto the shoulder, turn the shoulders, raise up that arm towards the ceiling. Try and send your right shoulder under, your left shoulder to stack. Push into both feet, engage the thighs, lift those kneecaps, activate those legs. Then release that hand back down. Allow the body to fold into the center just for a couple of breaths. The heads don't need to be as low as I go. I've got quite a lot of flexibility through my back chain of muscles. Then your next breath in, bring the hands to the hips, bring the shoulders all the way back up, over those hips. Roll the shoulders back. Turning again your left toes towards that short edge and bend into that knee. Bring the arms out shoulder high. Find warrior 2 for a couple of breaths. Sink low. Stabilize. Lengthen through the waist and through that spine. And then bringing that right arm down, around, come onto the toes of the back foot. Maybe step that foot a little further forward. So the hands are at the chest for a moment. We're bent into that left knee. The right leg's nice and straight. This time taking your right elbow over that left knee. And then we're hooking that elbow to make a twist around towards the back of the room. Keep low in the hips, keep bent into that left knee as much as you can. Keep pushing that right heel back. Breathe in, elongate the spine a little more. Breathe out and anchor that arm of that right elbow on that left knee to maybe twist a little further. If you wish then to open the arms here, sending your right arm down, your left arm up, opening through that chest. One more breath. Then release those hands down either side of that left foot. Lift that left leg up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees, stack the hips. Realign the hips, bring that left foot down to meet the right. And take a vinyasa here of your choice. I'm back to option one, coming forward to plank. Dropping down with the knees, turning the creases of the elbows as you release that body slowly to the floor. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, lift up the chest. Release that chest down, tuck under the toes, bring those chests back towards those thighs. Push into those hands and feet, lift up the hips, squeeze those heels back. Have a nod and shake of the head, paddle through those feet. Remember, if the vinyasas are getting a little too much by this point, maybe stop and take a drink in the vinyasas. So your next breath in, we raise up with that left leg. Bend the knees, stack the hip. Realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest and step that foot through. Drop that back heel down. Windmill the right arm up and over. Stay bent into that left knee. Both arms come out to shoulder height to find that warrior two position. Hold it here for a couple of breaths. Sink low in those hips. Switch on those thighs to engage those legs, feeling like you're internally rotating that right thigh. Squeezing the bum under with the glutes and straightening that back leg with that right glute. One more breath. Then turn the toes of those left foot back towards that long edge of the mat. Toes in front of the heels. Bring your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Push the hands down towards the floor. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Take a long breath in. Then as you breathe out, fold over those legs. Hands can stay at the base of the back or lift them up towards the ceiling if the shoulders feel happy to do so. Then let those heads fall towards the floor, they don't have to reach. And lift those arms maybe a little higher unless you're holding them in the base of the spine. So this opens the chest a little more. Squeeze those shoulder blades together a little further. And try and maybe bring those palms together to really open that chest. If it feels uncomfortable on the shoulders, release those hands back towards the base of the spine. One more breath. Then release those hands back to the base of the spine. Slowly bring those shoulders up and over those hips using that core strength and the back muscles to lift. Release the hands, bring the hands back to the hips. Turn the toes again of that right foot out to that short edge. Bring the arms to shoulder height, find warrior two for a couple of breaths. Sink those hips a little lower, tuck those bums under a little firmer. And try and squeeze that belly back, grow out of the waist, relax the shoulders, grow out of that crown. Then bringing your left arm down and around, come onto the toes of that back foot. And sink in towards that right knee. So this time your left elbow comes over that right knee. We hook, we breathe in, elongate the spine. We breathe out and find a twist. So we'll be facing away from the camera here. Bending into that front knee, straightening that back leg. Another long breath in, create some space, and your breath out, create the twist. Your left shoulder tucks under, your right shoulder stacks. One more breath here. Then release those hands down either side of that right foot. Lift that right leg up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees, stack the hips. Realign the hip, bring that foot back down to meet the left. take a paddle of the feet. And then take a vinyasa of your choice. I'm option 2, forward to plank. Release down to the floor, straight bodies. Elbows hug the ribs. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, lift up the chest. Release the chest down, tuck under the toes, bring the chest back to the thighs. Push into the hands and feet, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Take a paddle, nod and shake of the head. Your next breath in raises the right leg again. Bend the knees, stack the hips. Realign the hips, bring that knee to the chest. And step that right foot through. Drop that back left heel. The left arm windmills up and over. Use the oblique strength to lift the torso. Sink back in to that right knee. Knee stacking over the ankle. Turning that right knee back. Pushing the left hips forward, shoulders back. Really connect with those erector spinal muscles all the way down that spine to keep that torso lifted. One more breath here. Then straighten up through that right leg. Bring both sets of toes back to face the long edge. Bring the hands behind the back. Lift up the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Then as you breathe out, start to fold over those legs, bringing those heads down towards the floor. Choice to keep the hands at the base of the spine or lift them up towards the ceiling. Maybe squeeze those palms together a little more. Create that space between the collarbones. Push the shoulder blades back towards the hips. And then squeeze the shoulder blades in towards each other into that midline. One more breath here. Bring those hands then back down to the base of the spine. Slowly lift that chest up, away from the floor. Heel toe the feet into the centre. And release those hands. Give those arms a shake. Give a little paddle through those feet. So we're going to find chair position here. So have the feet so they're hip width apart. Bring those arms up towards the ears. Take a bend into the knees. And as you take those sit bones as low as you can take them, tuck the tailbones down, draw the bellies back and sink a little lower. Use those deltoid muscles on those shoulders to lift those arms away from the outside gaze. Sink those hips a little lower if you wish. Keep those bellies connected, those tailbones tucked down. One more breath here. Bring the hands to the chest. We're going to take the right elbow onto that left knee. Make sure that right knee doesn't pop forward as we rotate and twist around to the left side. Push into the whole of the feet. Keep the hips neutral by keeping the knees level. Breathe in, elongate that spine a little more. Breathe out, anchor that right elbow onto that left knee to maybe twist a little further. One more breath here. Then release the hands down, release the head down, straighten the legs. Maybe take a hold of the elbows. Maybe bend the knees slightly, make circles with those elbows in one direction, just to relax those shoulders off. Then let those arms come heavy. Slowly curl up back through that spine, bringing ourselves all the way back up to standing and roll those shoulders back. Again, reach those arms so biceps come by the side of the ears. Use the deltoid muscles to send the arms back a little further. Then bend those knees. Tuck those tailbones under, draw those bellies back. Gazing just in front of you or up towards the hands. Sink a little lower into those hips. Keep engaged through that core centre. Then bring the hands to the chest. This time your left elbow onto your right knee. Breathe in, lengthen the spine. Breathe out, find a twist. Try not to let that left knee pop forward this time. Keep low in the hips. Rotate it through the waist. Shoulders just come along for the trip. Your left shoulder tucks under, your right shoulder stacks. Keep those hips nice and low. One more breath here in this rotation. And then release the hands down, release the head down. Maybe bend the knees slightly, let the chest sit on top of the thighs. And just let those elbows make some circles. Grabbing one hand to one elbow and the opposite to the other. Make circles in the opposite direction. Release the arms to be heavy. Slowly curl up through that spine. Coming back all the way to standing. Making our way into our standing balance. So we're doing figure 4. So we bring our weight onto our right leg. We lift up the knee of the left, place the hands on the hips, turn that left knee out and place it onto the top of that right thigh. The toes of the left foot back towards the shins. Then start to bend into that standing leg. Bring the hands together at the chest. Keep the focal point in front of you on something that's not moving. Keep those sit bones low. Keep that balance in that standing leg by finding the whole of that right foot grounding into the mat. That left hip's turning out in an external rotation. So we're trying to drop that left knee down as low as it can go. The bum's tucked under, belly's drawn back. Taking one more breath here. Then bringing yourself back all the way up to standing. Bring that knee of the left up to hip height. Then straighten that left foot out in front of you, taking it as straight as you can. Left toes back towards the shins. Hold it here for another couple of breaths. And then release that foot slowly back down to the mat. And take a paddle of the feet, roll of the shoulders. So taking that standing balance onto the opposite side. So the weight comes this time into your left leg. Hands come onto the hips, lift up that right knee, turn it out, bring the outside ankle of that right foot onto the top of that left thigh. Right toes back to the shins, take a bend into that standing left leg. And turn that right knee out a little further to get that external rotation. Bring the hands together at the chest when you've found the legs. Feel that stabilisation through the centre by tucking the tailbone down, drawing the belly back. Keep pushing into the whole of that standing foot on the left side. Open that right knee out a little further, sink the hips a little lower, but try not to lean too far forward with the torso. Nice strong line through that centre, finding that equilibrium, that balancing point. Using that core strength, all those muscles in the ankle of that standing left leg. Maybe just sink a little lower in those hips. One more breath here. Then standing up through that straight leg, bring your right knee up to hip height. And then straighten that right leg out if you wish. Drawing those right toes back to the shins, staying tall through that spine. Taking one more breath here. And then slowly release that right leg back down to the mat. Take a paddle through the feet, roll of the shoulders. Then coming to your short edge of the mat, having your feet out so the toes are just off, the heels are just on. Bring the hands to the chest. Start to bend into those knees, bringing those bums down towards the floor. Choice can either just to come as low as you can go, or if you've got a block where you wish to just find a little support under the bum, place that block underneath the bum. Remember, books can be used if you wish, using as many books as you need to. It just brings that floor a little closer to whatever's trying to reach. If you're happy without the blocks, then really sink those tailbones under. One more breath here. Then bring those bums down to the mat, bring the feet to the corner edges. Release those bodies down towards the floor. If you've got any low ponytails, maybe you'll need to use them. So we're going to have our feet mat width apart, bring our hands to our hips, and we're going to come up into a bridge pose with wide legs. So as you push into those feet, slowly raise those hips up towards the ceiling. And you'll feel a little more contraction maybe through the outside of those glutes, as those feet are a little wider than on our normal bridge. Push those bums up higher. Maybe bring those hands underneath the body, interlace the fingers, roll the shoulder blades together, lift those hips a little further. One more breath here. Then with control, slowly let those bums come back down towards the floor. Bringing those sit bones down. Bringing those knees in towards the chest, having a squeeze of those knees. Maybe make circle with the knees on the ceiling in one direction, just to get into that lower back. So a lot of this has been standing. Very little on the floor, but we're building stamina and endurance in these Vinyasa practices. Squeeze those knees back in towards the chest, and then release those feet towards the floor, bringing the feet to the short edge, the head to the top of the mat. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Have a little rock of those hips from side to side, maybe a turn of the head in one direction and back through centre. Take it over to the other side. Bring it back into the centre. Find that comfortable space at the back of the head. Take a long deep breath in through the nose. And a long sigh out through the mouth. Another long deep breath in. And a long sigh out. Another deep breath in. And a long breath out. Then let yourself be your own natural automatic breath. Closing the eyes, let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. Let those lips gently part, jaw relax. Bringing the attention to the soles of the feet, the ankles, knees, hips, the whole of the spine from the bottom to the